So let's have a quick look at what's happening in this piece of code. So what I'm doing, just creating ourselves, a list. So there we go. L equals a new list, and then I'm appending hello world to the list and printing out the contents of the list. So what we end up printing out is obviously just, hello world like this. So we print out that. Now, what happens with the append, with this, is it takes in an empty list, modifies that empty list, and adds an element of hello world to it, and returns nothing because there's nothing to return, because it's modifying the list. So we don't need to return anything from the list. So let's look what happens when we do this. So what we've got is exactly the same structure again, an empty list that I've created. I'm taking that list and I'm appending hello world to it, but I'm also saving a copy of what comes back from this. Now, it's worth noting it's not what comes back from L, it's what comes back from the append that ends up being returned into R. So when we do this structure, what we get is we print out, and we just print out none. And the reason we print out none is because the list gets modified basically in situ. So our list now ends up being hello world, like that. So what we've done is copied, this piece and put it into our list. But because the list has been modified, and the list has been modified in situation, append doesn't need to return anything. It doesn't return a copy of the list, it doesn't need to. So it just returns none. There's no return from it. Because there's no return from it, the print ends up printing out nothing at all. Which is also why something like this, like y equals a new list dot append, and then with something in there, xxx, also won't work. It won't return anything. What it ends up doing is modifying our empty list, but with no reference to our empty list, appending something to it. So we append something into that list, and our list now ends up containing kind of xxx, like that. But then y ends up with the return value from append, and the return value from append is just none. And the reason for that is we're expected to actually store a reference to our list before we're appending to it. In this case, we haven't stored our reference, we append the list, we then lose our reference, we lose everything, being able to talk to it, and that list will disappear.